Hey, welcome to See Today on a special coverage of the 42nd ASEAN Leaders Summit here in the beautiful Labuan Bajo, East Nusa Tenggara. I'm Indra Marpaung. Now, if we're talking about Labuan Bajo, we have to talk about tourism. And who better to talk about tourism than talking with the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy himself, Mr. Sandiaga Uno. Welcome to the show, Mr.
Thank you so much, and as we say in North Sumatra, mauliate to you, Pak Indra, and welcome to beautiful Labuan Bajo, part of wonderful Indonesia, 5 super priority destinations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, and hopefully soon we can welcome more people to the nice island right here. Now let's start with this question. WHO just announced that we're no longer at the emergency situation for COVID-19. Now, as we transition during from this pandemic, is there any strategy that Indonesia put in place and our ASEAN member as a whole put in place to better prepare and boost for the recovery on tourism?
Well, we welcome the end of the emergency measures for COVID-19 pandemic, and this is definitely such a relief after more than 2 years of shutdown in many of the tourism areas and Center for Creative Economy. So our strategy is to continue what we have done best during the pandemic, which is making sure destinations are clean, healthy, safe, and also abiding to environmental sustainability practices. So we are adhering to very strict standards of, we call it CHSE, Cleanliness, Health, Safety, and Environmental Sustainability, that we have certified across the industry and destinations. Secondly, it's how we continue to improve the tourism professionals with certain measures, not just Indonesia, but across ASEAN. We have the ASEAN Mutual Recognitions Agreement on Tourism Professionals, making sure that certifications and standardizations across industry will be achieved, and also we need to improve ASEAN as a single destinations. Indonesia have 5 super priority destinations. Labuan Bajo is one of them, but we also have Lake Toba, Borobudur, Mandalika, and Likupang, and we need to extend the ASEAN tourism experience by offering the additional destinations within ASEAN to boost intra-ASEAN tourism recovery and to create 4.4 million new jobs for Indonesia by 2024.
Wow, 4.4 million new jobs.
That's correct.
Are we talking about tourism alone for 4.4 million?
4.4 million includes the related creative economy. We have 17 subsectors in creative economy that includes culinary, food, beverages, and if you're in Labuan Bajo, the coffee here is so great.
Yes, I have
Indra,
to say
you have to say it. The Flores coffee is one of the best in the
Yes.
world. And then we do have fashion. I'm wearing the Labuan Bajo Tenun, which is distinctive to West Manggarai, the island of Flores, and also the handicrafts, which is part of tourism, because tourism will bring in empowering micro, small, medium enterprises that provide souvenirs, handicrafts, and these are the top subsectors to contribute to the 4.4 million new jobs being created in 2024.
All right. So now Labuan Bajo is the host for the 42nd ASEAN Leaders Summit, and we can see the infrastructure is all prepared. And you, as you mentioned before, that the ministry itself is already preparing the workers and the handicrafters, all the we call it the small medium enterprises people to actually. I mean, I've seen people in cafe, like the waiters speak English fluently, having their foreign tourists and all that. Now, my question is, what would Labuan Bajo looks in the next 7 years? I mean, it looks so. I cannot imagine that Labuan Bajo is actually look like this. Like, I mean, for people who've never been here, it's something else.
Yeah, it's. I would say the scenery is epic. The atmosphere is fantastic, and the ambiance is majestic. And you need to come here because this is a destination that is so unique.
Yes.
7 years from now, we believe that sustainability will be the key in making Labuan Bajo premium destinations. This is where we put quality tourism and sustainability in one package, making sure that the carrying capacity, which is not huge in Labuan Bajo area, we can only cater to about the National Conservation Park can only cater to about 200,000. So we need to create new destinations because we anticipate about 1 million tourists would arrive in Labuan Bajo in the next 5 to 7 years. We're building hotels, we're building tourism attractions. The tourism village is amazing in Labuan Bajo area and across the Flores Islands. We have so many tourism attractions. We need to build accommodation, and we need to build good quality jobs based on the empowering of the micro, small, medium enterprises. One final thing, the next 7 years we see more digitalizations in Labuan Bajo in terms of the tourism ecosystem. There's more, I would say, online aspects of digital tourism that will help tourists to enjoy Labuan Bajo the fullest. And look at this, Tosca
Colors.
color of the water. You see the highland, and I did an 8 kilometers run this morning.
Yes, you did.
It's truly once in a lifetime. And we're gonna have sports tourism, we're gonna have mice, we're gonna have, I would say, international conferences here. And Labuan Bajo is ready to welcome tourists, international arrivals, and we're gonna open direct flights also.
Oh.
Hopefully, soon we will open direct flights from Malaysia and from Singapore, and also from other parts of ASEAN, including Australia as well.
Oh, that sounds great. I mean, I know, I bet all the tourism destination here would love to hear that, and then like knowing that direct flights are gonna really boost and help them with the tourism around here. I love, there's several things that you mentioned that intrigue me, especially on the digital tourism. I understand, you know, this place have a lot of islands to visit.
Yes.
And I see a lot of Finisi, and I was wondering, like, is there a way I can order?
Well, we
through
call
online?
it LOB, live on board, and through digitalizations we could book way in advance. And if you are, some people complain it's quite expensive, but if you book way in advance through digitalizations, you will get great packages, affordable packages that you could do island hopping. And you could visit Padar Island with its majestic view. You can swim and snorkel around the pink beach,
Yes.
which is literally pink, the color of the sand. And then you see the Komodo. But we need to make sure that we abide to the conservation aspects, because we need to make sure that this is going to last for centuries to come, because the Komodo survive extinction because they are part of the Jurassic era creatures, and they survive millions of years of challenges. Let's not make them suffer by providing we need to provide activities that will not disturb disturb their habitat and protect them for a million of years to come.
That's interesting. You mentioned earlier, and you just mentioned it too. One of the target, I mean, just not for Indonesia. I think like the whole ASEAN members, the commitment have that quality tourism, and then one of them is sustainability. What efforts that can we see, or we taking part as a tourist need to do to make sure that we also help the sustainability tourism?
Making sure that you're a responsible tourist, abiding to the CHSE standard, cleanliness, health, safety, environmental sustainability. First is making sure that we reduce, reuse, and recycle our waste. The use of plastics here are being controlled, and we're recycling the plastic products to make sure that we don't have waste in the sea and also floating around the beautiful waters of Labuan Bajo. Second is the use of electric vehicle as part of the applications of new and renewable energy. So electric vehicles is now, if you see leaders in ASEAN and delegations are using electric vehicles. So the use of clean and renewable energies. Third, which is absolutely key, is water. How we conserve water, because this area we need to make sure that the use of water is efficient, the use of water is sustainable, and we need to make sure that we also not putting more tourists than the carrying capacity. So that's part of the responsibility that the government will need to work with stakeholders, including academia, communities, private sectors, micro, small, medium enterprises, and the media, which is very important to continue to promote that this is would be quality and sustainable destinations for hopefully centuries to come.
Now, I'm a little bit off track, but it's still on the point. 2024 is coming up. We're gonna have a new government. What's the new government need to do to make sure part of the 5 super priority destinations still ongoing, still on track, and then where we need to head?
First is to make sure we accelerate the development by providing basic infrastructures. So it's not just road connectivity, infrastructure such as direct flights, but also electricity. Some of the areas here I toured this morning have not been able to be supplied by electricity, digital connectivity, and also the availability of fresh, clean water. Secondly, we need to make sure that the supply chain. Here in Labuan Bajo, the challenge is to make sure that Labuan Bajo can provide the supplies that it would need to cater for tourists' needs and requirement. For instance, we eat omelette in the morning. The next government need to focus on making sure that right now most of the eggs are actually imported from Bali, from South Sulawesi, or from Java, or from neighbor islands. Here we need to build all the supplies that would be needed to cater to the tourists, like fruits, vegetables needs to be created here. The next government will also needs to reinforce that this is quality and sustainable tourist areas, and therefore we don't overbuild this area. We need to make sure that the pristine water conditions and the beautiful scenery will be for years to come, and making sure that permits in relations to new hotels and basically new amenities, restaurants, cafe, have to be carefully curated to adhere towards the quality and sustainability aspects. The next years to come, post-pandemic, tourism will be more personalized, customized, localized, and smaller in size. Let's not focus on quantity of how many tourists are coming to Labuan Bajo, but more focusing on how tourists will stay longer here in destinations. They care about their carbon footprint, and also they impact the local economy positively. I think that's the key, so that the welfare of the people here, tourism is going to be the agent of poverty alleviations, because in some of the villages here in Labuan Bajo or near Labuan Bajo, we still see some poverty issues. Empowering the welfare of the people would be very key, so that tourists could be inclusive also. Tourism could be an inclusive sector and also sustainable sector.
Yes, it's interesting that you mentioned that, you know, in the future it's more, it sounds like more like a quality tourism. Like it's it's not more private, but at the same time it's more catered to the tourist itself. Now we're in the middle of the ASEAN Leaders Summit right now. Now what is what synergy of ASEAN member can bring to make sure that we all become the epicenter of the global and especially in the tourism sector?
You look at the world in general, there are challenges. Southeast Asia, and in particular ASEAN countries, have provided quite a relief, being a region that is stable, politically stable on a geopolitical basis. We are not, thank God, having to deal with a lot of issues in relations to security, but we also have been in the epicentrum of growth. While other countries and other regions grow only 1% or lower, I think ASEAN as a whole, and Indonesia in particular, have been able to grow. We grew 5.3% last year, and this year we are trying to project that we will grow around 5.3% plus. And this is needed to create economic activities and create good quality jobs. Now in the past, ASEAN have been focusing more on issues of security and consensus, which has worked very well, and we are reaping the dividend now. But in the future, I think we need to work closer in terms of economic alliances and tourism synergies, because we compete. I think Thailand compete with Malaysia, Malaysia compete with Indonesia, with Vietnam. Why don't we work together to create ASEAN as a single destination, so that people who flew far-flung from Europe, from America, could not just enjoy Labuan Bajo, but they could also enjoy Langkawi. They could enjoy Phuket, but they can also enjoy Bali at the same time. So direct connectivity between tourist attractions and tourist centers, tourism centers across ASEAN needs to be strengthened, and we believe this is the time. ASEAN matters, yes, we do matters, and this is the epicentrum of growth. Not only the economic growth, the jobs growth, the prosperity growth, and also this is the place whereby post-pandemic we are recovering together and recovering better.
Thank you for having us. Mr. Sandiaga Uno, thank you so much for being on the show. And that was our conversation with the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Mr. Sandiaga Uno. Amin Ramarapang would like to say thank you for joining us on See Today on the special coverage of the 42nd ASEAN Leaders Summit here in Labuan Bajo.